Well, this has been a talking point for much of the week. The Department of Sports, Arts and Culture is cracking down on irregular expenditure. New Minister Gayton Mackenzie put a halt on sports superfan funding and just recently published a list of all artists who received money from the department during COVID-19. And this has received mixed reaction from the entertainment and the sports industry. But let's get analysis on this now with Howard University Professor Dr. Sipho Sithole, who of course is an entertainment industry leader here in South Africa. Baba Sithole, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, yeah.
This has been something, your initial thoughts, number one, let's start with the list, right? The list comes out this week. The minister says this is who was given what during COVID-19. Over 4,000 artists receiving funds, some of them 10,000 Rand, some of them 70,000 Rand. What did you make of that release?
First, if I were them, I would go and get all of that money in cash, put it in a wheelbarrow, push the wheelbarrow to Madiba Street in Pretoria, and just put that money there on the doorsteps of the department and say, take it, we've insulted us enough. But before we get into that, today is 14 days before the biggest sporting event, which is the Olympics in Paris. If we were to ask South Africans, how many sporting codes are represented in Paris in 14 days and how many athletes are going there, the answer, no one would even know. If you ask them, do you know whose name was published or names were published by this department? They would probably, each one of them will tell you no less than 10 people. That is basically the current public narrative in South Africa by a department that should be focused on much bigger things than the list. And we'll get to the list. But let me say this. I've lived 32 years under apartheid and 30 years under democracy, or the so-called democracy. And for me, this is the first time where a department whose mandate, you know, the department's got the biggest mandate in this country because it's supposed to unite South Africans. It's supposed to carry the heart and soul of this nation. It's supposed to advance this healing process that we've been embarking on since 30 years ago. But it has now been reduced to a department of publishing. It's a publishing department. It publishes lists of who got money and who didn't get money. That is what it has been reduced to. That is how sad this situation is. Now, the thing is that if you look at ESCOM, I think 5 days ago, announced that it was losing 15 billion rands because it has been pumping 33 billion rands on diesel suppliers. Do you know who those diesel suppliers are? Nobody knows. Has they ever been published?
Let me step in there, Dr. Sithole. Isn't that part of the issue? Is that, for the most part, what citizens want is transparency. And so easily the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture can say that we're doing this in the interest of transparency, to show you where our money is spent and with whom, as you make the example of with ESCOM and say, well, that's what we're asking for even where that is concerned.
As if it has never been done. That is the issue. The department and all of its funding agencies, they put out a call every year for creatives to come up with ideas to create, and they get funded, and then after that, it gets published. It's not the first time. It has been happening all the time. But what is said about this one is that we are making a mockery of a people who, during very difficult circumstances of COVID, went to government. They didn't go, actually, let me correct that. Government said, we are here to help you. We've got COVID relief funding that we can, for the period that we are not able to work, not able to create. And remember, when we talk about creation, we're not talking about just artists performing. We're talking about crafters.
Yes.
We are talking about artists. We are talking about filmmakers. We are talking about anyone who's involved in this sector to say, we are not working, and please come and we'll help you. Even if we can give you 10,000 rands just to pay rent for the next 2 or 3 months and get food. You know, there was a lady who sent an email to the department during that time and said, I am not able to prove that in the next 3 or 6 months I had been booked to work and it's been cancelled because of COVID. But all I'm asking you, just give me food parcel. My mom is diabetic, so that I can just have food for her to eat. I cried that day when I saw that email, you know. Now, this is exactly what it is. Now, if you ask this minister, in the week or so that we have, what have you done in this week or so that we have done? Like, I rolled up my sleeve. I hit the ground running. I published a list. Is it a list of criminals? What did they do, these artists? Did they do anything wrong? Are they wrong to be artists and to seek funding?
Are you saying that the minister has shamed artists?
He has shamed artists. That's why I was saying that if I were them, I would say to them, I would take this money and take it, say, have it. It's yours. You have shamed us enough. This department spent over R500 million during the COVID relief funding. Because what he has just published now was just phase 1. There's phase 2, there's phase 3. Then there's even money that were given to enterprises to survive.
Okay, I want to talk about this because you actually wrote a piece on, and it was titled, Pity the Minister in Charge of Arts and Culture. There will never be a hero of the sector who can easily claim victories in meeting the aspirations of the artistic community. You wrote this last year in March, and it's interesting because as part of it, you talk about the integral role of arts and culture in the country's transformation.
Yes.
Right, yes. And that's an interesting word to be bringing up now when we're talking about a government of national unity working together, what happens from a policy direction moving forward.
Yes.
So what do you say to the minister now about the role of arts and culture in transformation?
It's because that's exactly what I had anticipated when Minister Zizi Kodwa came into power. I was saying, don't come into this department and think you're going to be a hero to the industry, because there's a lot of things that you need to understand. First of all, don't trivialize this department as if it's just a performing arts. People are just on stage. The poets are reciting poets. Dancers are dancing, and theater and music. There is more to this industry. I even said in that article, and I'm still saying to this minister, if he's not recalled, hopefully I wish President Ramaphosa would realize that he's done a grave mistake by appointing someone who is easily excitable and loses this transformation trajectory that we are talking about. Firstly, familiarize yourself with the Creative Industries Master Plan 2040, which was passed by this cabinet, not this cabinet, a cabinet 2 years ago. That Creative Industries Master Plan even has a 1-page, which is just a framework, that says for us to get to 2040, where our creatives have been nurtured and developed, they are innovative, they are competitive, and the work they do is sustainable. Here is what you need to look at. It's clear as it says, this is the supply side of this framework. Then it says, these are the market efficiencies that you should look at, which means, first of all, create a pipeline for artists to create, to produce, and all of that, but then have market efficiencies, which means a conducive environment that allows the artists to create, right? And that talks about smart government. It talks about production facilities and all of that. Then it says, when you have done that, then create a demand, which is now the showcasing of that. It lists, if you ask this minister, what are the cultural domains that are under the creative industries? Just give me one. He probably is going to think of spinning, because the first thing when he was appointed, I'm going to formalize spinning, car spinning. I was like, wow. So that is really what this department is about. He's probably going to talk, he won't even know there's craft, there's design, there's film, there's theater, there's music, there's fashion, and all of those things. Yeah. And they're under the United Nations framework, which is what countries are supposed to do.
Okay, obviously we are going to get the Minister, Gayton Mackenzie, to come into studio and respond to some of the things that you've said.
If he's still there.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because you're essentially calling for the Minister to be recalled.
Yes. Yeah. If we are serious about this department, we need people who are critical thinkers. We need people who are not here to redeem themselves as newborn people, you know what I'm referring to, who are now criminalizing the artists who are just doing their work, you know. We need people who take this department serious. You know, we've been saying this, but I'm just wishing.
What does the department then need? One of the things that you've talked about is just how little money is allocated, say, from national treasuries.
Yes. Now, I spoke about this creative framework, this industry master plan.
And we'll ask him if he's seen that framework as well.
You must quickly go and read it, because it's there. It was done by the South African Cultural Observatory at the request of DTIC as well as the department. Let's now talk about, if I were the minister today, or even if I were his advisor, which I would do it for free, because he also is donating his salary for free. Let's all do it. I will do it for free for him. I'll familiarize myself with that Creative Industry Master Plan 2040, and then say, okay, now we know what Cabinet is expecting us to do. What is the operational plan to get there? And then also look at whether this department receives sufficient funding to deploy its mandate. And this mandate, it is vast. First of all, it now has got sport and recreation, but it also has arts promotion and development. It also has heritage promotion and development. If he goes today and look at that budget annually is about 6 billion rands. It is not sufficient, because after that, it must also service over 28 agencies. The funding agencies, museums, libraries, languages, sport. And if you look at, for instance, where I've sat on the board, which is the National Arts Council, they've just published the list of their beneficiaries of the last call. There are 9 provinces. There was only 500,000 rands per province to fund 7 cultural domains that that department is responsible, which means music only at 500,000, craft only at 500,000. And then you've got this multiplicity of players in this industry, which employs, by the way, over 1 million people. This industry contributes 6% to total jobs in this country. It contributes about 3.5% to GDP, which is about 74.1 billion rands annually.
That's huge.
So we are not talking about a department that is going to be worried about who got to 10,000 rand, which they got actually deservingly so. So those are the things I would look at. And then go to the portfolio committee and say, portfolio committee, if this department is going to make any meaningful change in terms of its broader mandate, not what he thinks it is, it needs to be sufficiently funded. Okay.
I need to move towards wrapping up, Dr. Sithole, but you are, again, an industry leader. You've chaired organizations such as Moshito as well. Let's talk about this. Are you going to be interacting with the minister? Because the minister's new to the role. One could easily say that, you know, this is an opportunity for him to listen to the people, to listen to the industry. If he avails himself, can those conversations take place?
I am prepared to have an engagement with the minister if he's prepared to listen. If he doesn't come with the attitude that he knows it all and that everyone here is a thug, is taking government money that they don't deserve, then we can have a serious conversation. Then I'll ask him, which is very dear to me, go check how many libraries are in rural and marginalized communities. Go check how many community arts centers that are out there. And lastly, deal with SARS, because private sector is willing to fund SARS, but SARS does not give tax breaks for arts and culture initiatives.
Yeah. All right, we're going to leave it there. You wrote this piece last year in March, and you closed off by saying, I end with the quote by Albert Camus, the Algeria-born French philosopher: without culture and the relative freedom it implies, society, even when perfect, is but a jungle. This is why any authentic creation is a gift to the future. And we hope that you'll continue to engage with the leadership of arts and culture as well. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Dr. Sipho Sithole is, of course, a professor with Howard University in the US, teaching them about our culture and language here in South Africa. He's a cultural strategist and also a leader in the industry.